Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I can do that every now and then. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Powell, and I'm chairing the special committee on the Alternative Fuel Vehicle Subcommittee today. We have a bill in front of us, House Bill 460. This bill will be for discussion only today. And at this point, I want to call up the author of House Bill 460. Representative Martin, are you in attendance? Welcome. And you have is this your substitute or your amendment? So we'll be addressing two documents today.
Do this mask here while I'm speaking?
As long as it doesn't belabor the point, brother.
I hear you. Now we have, I want to thank the committee for this afternoon. One of your subcommittee members said that he had a call to make it 5:30 when we're finished. I hope I'll be quick and give folks plenty of time to testify and let you be wheels up, pardon the pun, before 5:30. I introduced 460 to give Georgia consumers direct access to.
Let me make a correction before 5 o'clock.
Works for me, that as well. But all of those things work, Mr. Chairman. I introduced 460 to give Georgia consumers direct access to an innovative technology from manufacturers of zero-emission vehicles. HB 460 is not meant to threaten our current process, our current system. Instead, it's to provide a direct path to give customers a free choice in 2021 and beyond. The bill, Mr. Chairman, simply seeks to let a manufacturer of zero-emission vehicles that has never sold in Georgia before do that. The amendment, Mr. Chairman, is a belt and suspenders in legal terms. As you know, I'm several semesters shy of a law degree, but there was some, in talking to folks, there was some concern that because of an investment in the company by a manufacturer that currently has agreements, could that somehow be construed and to let those vehicles be sold here? And that is not the intent. So that's what the amendment seeks to even further prohibit. So with that, Mr. Chairman, my presentation can be very brief. We seek to allow Georgia consumers access to these vehicles. They could buy them now, but they have to go through a lot of iterations and spend their money in another state and then bring them back here. And this bill would simply allow manufacturers of zero-emission vehicles on line 62 through 64 and manufacturers that have never owned or had agreements, line 65 through 68, the ability to do that. They have to service the cars. It does strike on line 56 what was in our prior law that only let a manufacturer that was grandfathered in have 5. We've proven over the time that hasn't bothered the current model that dealers have with their manufacturing that have had for years. So it strikes that language, and it necessarily strikes on line 61 that you had to be doing this in the state of Georgia before January 1st, 2015 in order to qualify under this paragraph 8. With that, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, we just seek to give Georgians a choice, let them have access to innovative technology that's in demand in the world today, and stand for any questions for the committee and step aside to allow testimony at the chairman's discretion.
Thank you so much. We're going to start off. We have a number of people that want to speak. Let's see. Catherine Stankin has withdrew. Is that correct? Daniel Witt.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. I can step away.
Any questions from the committee of the author? Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Real quick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This original bill, was this an agreement between the automobile dealers and the, I guess, Tesla at that time?
Well, I don't know how much time the committee goes back. There was discussion around that time. There was ongoing litigation. I don't know how proper it is to talk about that.
No, I don't think we need to get into
I'll
that.
I'll leave that to the principals involved in that. I think this bill was passed in 2015 because it was in the best interest of the consumers of Georgia. And it passed the House with 3 dissenting votes. And I don't, I'd have to look at the Senate vote. So it was in the best interest of Georgia at that time. And since there was pending litigation around, I'm going to let the parties discuss what they may or may not have had as an agreement. I was not party to that litigation.
Any other questions from any of the committee members? All right. First up, Daniel Witt.
Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to see the witnesses and also take notes.
You're more than welcome, Mr. Chairman. Do we have a Daniel Witt?
Yes, sir. I'm digital.
Oh, he's digital. I'm sorry. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Witt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Is it all right if I begin my testimony?
Please do.
Thank you.
And brevity is of a premium value.
I appreciate that, sir. I'll do my very best. So, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, my name is Daniel Witt, and I'm the head of public policy for Lucid Motors. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for holding the hearing today and affording me the opportunity to speak in favor of HB 460. For those of you unfamiliar with Lucid, Lucid is a new electric vehicle company focused on bringing the next generation of EV technology to the masses. Our first vehicle, which you can see roughly behind me, much better than my garage, will enter the market later this year with a remarkable range exceeding 500 miles per charge and the ability to recharge about 300 of those miles in 20 minutes. Our industry-leading efficiency, when paired with lower battery costs, will unlock a much wider market for electric vehicles in the coming decade. And as to the matter at hand, I come to you in support of this legislation because Lucid is on the cusp of making significant investments across the country in a retail and service footprint. Given the substantial interest from Georgia consumers in our product, we'd love to include the state in our future investment roadmap. Direct sales by electric vehicle manufacturers in some fashion is permitted in a majority of the United States. Direct sales by at least one manufacturer is legal in 8 of the top 10 US car markets. And direct sales is legal in the states with the largest and smallest populations, California and Wyoming, respectively. Indeed, it is already the policy of the state of Georgia, as some have alluded to already, to allow certain manufacturers the ability to sell directly to consumers. To that end, we need not engage in speculation or hyperbole about the ramifications of extending this law to cover all zero-emission vehicle manufacturers when we know the result of doing so in the first place. It is a successful policy. Not only has it resulted in millions of additional dollars of investment in the hiring of sales and service technicians, but also last year, more than 83% of EVs sold in the state were sold directly by a manufacturer to consumers. That's consistent with prior years as well. Now, this goes to the root issue under consideration with this legislation. As a new entrant, Lucid has the opportunity to consider 2 successful business models, one historically successful while another more successful in recent times. We're simply making a judgment about which method affords us the best opportunity at this time to serve our consumers and to be a successful business. It's a choice. The same choice that was afforded to Tesla, but also the same choice that was afforded to Ford, GM, and every other automaker that came before us. Giving us that choice in Georgia is not an exemption or somehow picking winners and losers. It's consistent with historical precedent and when boiled down, fair, nothing more. To that end, this bill is neither an attack on the owners or workers in franchise dealerships nor the franchise system itself. It certainly won't result in the loss of 30,000 jobs. Again, the facts are very clearly here state otherwise. The change in law that allowed Tesla to sell in the state did not result in any financial harm or contractual issues between dealers and their manufacturers. And it bears repeating that sales revenues at franchise auto dealerships have skyrocketed nationwide to represent over $30 billion of revenue in 2019, up more than 50% since 2012. This is a perfect example of how competition and the free market have enabled both business models to operate successfully concurrently. Now, we know that GADA supported the 2016 bill, but not because of this case study in the free market. On the contrary, they said at the time, Tesla, they're the first and hopefully the last. And to their credit, with this bill, they're maintaining a consistent position. They are seeking to pick the winners and losers, and they are asking this committee to do the same. I certainly don't fault the legislature for supporting the bill when no one else was raising their hands several years ago. But I must ask now, if the state is unwilling to create a level playing field by extending new manufacturers like Lucid and Rivian and Lordstown, the same right, now that we are raising our hands and doing exactly that. In closing, I commend this committee for your willingness to address the issue, but I urge you not to see this as a zero-sum game. This policy has shown to be a win for all parties, consumers, new companies, the state, and yes, even the dealers. Therefore, I ask you to support this legislation, and thank you for your consideration and time. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Witt. Any questions from the committee, Mr. Witt? No? We thank you so much. Now, where are you at with that pretty mountain behind you?
That would be taken, that's the Arizona desert behind us.
Good to have you folks from out west come over here wanting to pay attention to Georgia.
Thank you, sir.
So much. Next up, Mr. Peter O'Connor. Are you on Zoom?
Yes, I am also remote.
Very good. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome.
I'm calling in from the Boston area. We are a national nonprofit representing the electric vehicle drivers. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm the Senior Policy Manager of Plug in America. We represent these EV drivers and the nearly 7.2 million licensed drivers in Georgia that may choose to drive electric. And we support HB 460 for several reasons. Demand for EVs is on the rise in Georgia, and in no way should the consumer be prohibited from purchasing the EV of their choice. HB 460 offers consumers more choices for EVs at no cost to the state itself whatsoever. And it allows the consumer to interact with the trained product specialists for the EVs within the showrooms, creating a positive purchase experience, which leads to greater EV adoption. We know that 78% of consumers have questions about how to charge, where to charge, when to charge, questions which are more easily answered by the product specialists. Buying an EV direct from the manufacturer also avoids some of the red tape associated with transfers, which can pose a burden to both the EV buyer and to these startup companies. The direct sale allows for the manufacturers to drive down prices for consumers as that investment is spent on innovation and better products and services, as opposed to a network of dealers, franchise dealers that would have vacant lots. Because as soon as an EV comes in, it is delivered to a customer. The sooner Georgia can get EVs into the hands of the consumers who want those vehicles, the sooner we'll get those economies of scale, and the sooner the secondhand EV market in the state will grow. And this will have benefits for all consumers, not just the new vehicle buyers. So the time to act is now. On behalf of the consumers in Georgia who may wish to purchase electric vehicles, we urge you to vote yes on this bill.
Very good. We have, and you've got good timing. Any questions from the committee members to Mr. O'Connor? No? Mr. O'Connor, we wish you well up in Boston.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Alexander Voloka. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right. Is this another one?
Volok, I'm here remotely.
Ah, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right.
All good. Can I start?
You certainly may.
Honorable members of the committee, my name is Alexander Volok, though I also go by Sasha. I'm a law professor at Emory Law School, where I teach the law and economics of competition, policy, and antitrust. I have a law degree and a PhD in economics from Harvard University. I've written frequently about issues of competition and regulation, and I've been a Georgian for the last quarter of my life. I'm here to speak in favor of HB 460. Throughout the economy, business people have to answer the fundamental question of how to deal with their customers. Do you set up retail locations for your brands directly? Do you contract with independent operators who run those retail locations? Or do you sell your products through retail outlets that also sell competing products? Some businesses choose one model and some choose another. For a long time, if you wanted to buy a Windows computer, you went to a generalized store like Best Buy, but if you wanted to buy an Apple product, you would go to a specialized Apple store. Things change. Microsoft has experimented with Windows stores, but it's no longer using that model, and you can now buy Apple products at Best Buy. The point is that businesses are constantly experimenting with how to reach their customers. If you get lunch at Chipotle and follow it up with dessert from Dunkin' Donuts, you might be unaware that Chipotle owns its locations while Dunkin' Donuts operates through independent franchisees. Meanwhile, some McDonald's locations are run by franchisees and some are run by the corporation. Customers are generally unaware of these distinctions because the level of customer service, worker protection, and food safety does not need to depend on how the business structure works. The same health, safety, and consumer and worker protection laws apply regardless, but the difference matters a lot to manufacturers. Economists still debate how corporate-run retail outlets differ from franchisee-run retail outlets, but the important thing is that businesses should be free to experiment and find what works for them. It would clearly be intolerable, not to mention inefficient, to force Chipotle to operate through independent franchisees or to force Dunkin' Donuts to own its own locations. That's a decision for each company to make for itself based on their own circumstances and needs. Automobile distribution is no different. For some types of cars, dealer franchises might work well. Conventional cars might be like that. For other types of cars, direct-to-consumer sales might work instead. Electric vehicles might fall into that category because so far people are buying them in smaller numbers and they require less maintenance, which is one area where traditional dealers make money. But it shouldn't be up to us to tell manufacturers how best to reach their customers. Manufacturers should be able to experiment and find out what works best for them. HB 460 is a moderate compromise along those lines, which just extends to other electric vehicle companies the same rights that previously had been extended to Tesla. It gives electric vehicle manufacturers the flexibility to choose whether to use dealers or direct-to-consumer delivery. Meanwhile, as part of this compromise, Georgia's traditional dealer protection system is left basically where it is. This bill doesn't directly affect any existing dealers or manufacturers that already do business through dealers. This moderate step is good for efficiency, it's good for economic freedom, it's good for consumer prices, and it's good for the future of the electric vehicle industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sasha. Do we have any members that wish to ask the professor a question? I think you hit a home run. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Nathaniel Horridon.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also remote.
Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. And it's great.
Where are you from, please?
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman?
And where are you speaking from?
I'm speaking from Midtown Atlanta.
Good. Welcome.
I was down there at the Capitol earlier to see the Rivian vehicle outside the Capitol, but I'm back here in Midtown now, live from my home. But Mr. Chairman, honorable subcommittee members, thank you so much for your time and allowing me to speak before you all today. My name is Nathaniel Horridam. I am a now 7-year resident of Atlanta. I'm also a managing consultant and automated vehicle specialist at the national nonprofit Center for Transportation and the Environment, which is headquartered here in Atlanta. And over the past 25 years, my firm, CTE for short, has been a national leader in zero emission technologies, development, and commercialization. We came out of DARPA, and we have supported a number of public sector and commercial fleets developing these technologies. And we're excited to see the electric vehicle industry grow. We've been with it from the cradle to now where it has become the undisputed future of the automotive industry, the future of the transportation sector, and a critical front for America's global economic competitiveness. Rivian, Tesla, Lucid, Lordstown, these represent the best of what our country has developed. And we want to see these vehicles sold in Georgia and help us develop that ecosystem here. And I do briefly want to tell a story from October. I was up in Brazelton at Petit Le Mans with Commissioner Tim Eccles of the Public Service Commission, as well as a number of other electric vehicle folks in our community here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we had Porsche Taycans and Audi e-trons and Teslas, and we had an EV corral, and we were talking to folks that were coming by our corral, teaching them about electric vehicles, showing them what was coming out of the market. And a lot of folks were really impressed, but I also had a number of folks, this is North Georgia, this isn't Decatur, this isn't Atlanta, asking, well, when are the pickup trucks coming? This is great and all, but once there's an electric pickup truck, that's when I'd be interested. And now we've got them. We had it outside the Capitol earlier with Rivian, Lordstown, Tesla's building them. These are available, and we need to make it easier for Georgians to be able to buy these and, help them become part of this electric vehicle revolution across the state, not just in Atlanta, but in North Georgia, in Southeast Georgia, Southwest Georgia, the entire state. And there is no better signal that we can send these companies as we try to attract their manufacturing jobs, their supply chain jobs, and their service center jobs, that Georgia is open for innovation and to be part of this electric vehicle revolution than to support HB 460. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. If you would, let's see if there's any questions. Committee members, any questions? We don't see any. We thank you so much. All right, next up, Mr. James Williams.
Good afternoon, Chairman Powell and members of the committee. I'm actually here in person to speak to you all about HB 460. I'm the political coordinator for the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and we are in support of this bill, mostly because of jobs. Every electric vehicle sold in Georgia, there needs to be a charging station installed in that person's home, and it'll be a qualified electrician that installs that charging station in their home. And the more electric vehicle sales that are done in Georgia, we'll need to install more industrial charging stations, either outside of buildings like the Capitol, just down the street, outside of our hall, like at the IBEW building, and other locations, and those are going to produce more jobs for Georgians. And also, electricity is produced here locally in Georgia. We don't need to ship it in from overseas. We've got nuclear plants being built. We have solar farms out there. We have gas, and we have coal fossil plants in Georgia. And the passage of this bill would help keep our members at Georgia Power and Southern Company employed, generating electricity in the state of Georgia. So that's the main reason why we're in support of this bill. And I'll pause for any questions.
Very good. Any questions from any of the committee members? Yes, sir. You would go right ahead.
10. Yes, sir. Just out of curiosity, what is the average install cost on a charger? If you know, if not, no worries.
Each one, like Tesla has its own proprietary charger. So you'd have to install a Tesla charger in your home. I think that's around $1,500. The other ones, all the other manufacturers seem to be using the standard plug on their cars or on their vehicles. So I would say you're going to put a 70 amp breaker in with some wire and some outlets and stuff like that. It'd probably be about $300 or $400.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? James, we thank you so much.
All right, you got it.
Allie Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, may I take my mask down?
I would certainly be grateful.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Allie Kelly. I'm Executive Director of a nonprofit organization that operates out of Atlanta and also out of LaGrange and West Point, Georgia. We do a lot of work with Chairman Vance Smith, and I'm so grateful for the help that he gives us in West Georgia. We've been operating for 6 years now as a nonprofit in a chartered partnership with Georgia DOT and the Federal Highway Administration to install more than a dozen transportation technologies on Interstate 85. This body, back in 2014, designated an 18-mile stretch of I-85 in West Georgia as the Ray C. Anderson Memorial Highway. And since that time, we've been working to build with GDOT the nation's premier test bed for transportation technology. We're now operating in 14 states with 21 transportation agencies. So we are the embodiment of Georgia leading in transportation. We are actually putting Georgia first with states like Texas, South Carolina, Illinois, which we will announce partnerships in the next couple of weeks for the Ray and GDOT to take this transportation technology and spread it across the country. As far as transportation goes, we're hot right now. And I'm here to talk to you because I want you to know that our very first project way back in 2015 was, you guessed it, an EV charging station. We installed a 50 kW charging station at the Georgia Visitor Information Center, which is one of our gateways. And that 50 kW charging station was sponsored by a corporate partner, Kia Motors Manufacturing Georgia, which is one of our established vehicle manufacturers in the state. Since 2015, we have had tremendous utilization of that charging station because we don't have very many of them on the interstate system. So we're very popular for charging in West Georgia. But we've also recently upgraded that charging station to be 175 kW. So in 5 years, we tripled the amount of power that we can offer drivers at our charging station. And we now offer on the Ray the highest level of EV charging just about anywhere in the country on the interstate system. We're really proud of that innovation that we're able to bring through our philanthropy at the Ray as a 501c3 charity, our association with the Ray C. Anderson Foundation, which is the family foundation that's behind our work. We get an annual endowment from them, and also with corporate support from our dear friends at Kia and other companies. I'm here just to let you know that we support House Bill 460 because it opens the Georgia market where there is real demand for these products. And we stand for the same values that Ray Anderson stood for when he was CEO and founder of Interface Carpet Company. They're the same values that we have here in Georgia, right? We value an open free market. We value competition. We value market access. We value pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, starting companies, making them profitable, making them successful. And all of those values, all of those attributes are actually embodied in House Bill 460. We're opening our market in Georgia to American companies that are offering American-made products in a sector where we've lost so many jobs in auto manufacturing to China. These are American companies offering American-made products, and Georgia families want them. And the question before the committee today is really market access. Do we support allowing these companies to do business in Georgia to deliver American-made products to the Georgia families who want them? At the Ray, we're ready to provide the charging infrastructure with GDOT and other partners to make sure that Georgia Power and our EMCs and our munis can offer our Georgia-grown electricity. For the first time, we can power transportation from our own resources. We've always been an energy importer for transportation. We've always gotten our fuel from Louisiana, from Texas. For the first time, your EMC, your muni, Georgia Power can offer the transportation fuel. We know how to install the infrastructure with professional unionized labor, and we can allow Georgia consumers to drive the type of vehicles that they want to, whatever that is. whether they're gas powered, diesel powered, I don't know what else, electric vehicles, maybe one day hydrogen fuel cells. We want to be the enabler of that in Georgia. I just want to wrap up by saying our charging stations on the Ray, the 50 kW charging station was $60,000. The 175 kW charging station, our investment was at a steep reduction because we're a public charity, but we paid about $89,000 for that 175 kW charging station. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood the difference between, you know, paying $1,500 for a Tesla charging station and paying $100,000 for a high-power charging station. Thank you so much for allowing me to make these comments. I'm so honored to be before the committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. You could just hold on. Let's see. Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I've got to say something. I've known Allie a long time, and she works with a citizen down there, Ray Anderson's daughter, Harriet, who I've known most of my life, and knew Mr. Anderson, great guy. And what they've done in that area, and that's in my district, it's been amazing. When you put the items over in the Welcome Center, I wasn't even in the legislature back then, but I came over there, and you know, they've got items that you can drive across in the Welcome Center, and it'll check the air pressure in your tires as you go through. I thought that was pretty amazing, being an old truck driver, you know. But yeah, it's good, and she's done a lot of positive stuff down there, and many of y'all know her. She's around the Capitol a lot, so I'd take advantage of the knowledge that Allie has, and the Ray that is leading in the state of Georgia, and ask her questions and and she'll tell you about it. She's excited about it. So I just want to make that comment. Thanks, Allie.
Thank you, Vance.
Questions from any of the committee members? Well, you must have just impressed the dickens out of everybody, Allie.
Well, as you know, Mr. Chairman, I've talked to most of y'all already, and so I've had a chance to interact and answer questions. You know, I just want to let y'all know that the charging infrastructure is also going, it's evolving really fast. And I know that some of you might roll your eyes at this, but I'm a part of a National Science Foundation initiative, so NSF. Funded the research. Unfortunately, it's not out of Georgia yet. It's in Utah, but the National Science Foundation gave them $10 million, and I'm on the board. And Mr. Chairman, you can actually charge your electric vehicle wirelessly while you drive. Harriet, Ray's daughter, and I were there in 2018, and we were in a heavy electric vehicle bus. We were driving 45 miles per hour, and we were getting 25 kW from the road. Now, I told y'all 5 years ago we installed a 50 kW charger. This group has now installed 50 kW coils in the road. So we thought we were so cool back in 2015 with a wired 50 kW charger. But what I'm telling you is that the technology is becoming so advanced and so convenient when it comes to electric vehicles. And I hope that we're all in a position to embrace these innovations and the products for Georgia families, while also continuing to work with our established dealers. There's room in the marketplace for both. There's room for both. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allie. Annie Blair.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. My name is Ann Blair, and I'm the president of the EV Club of the South. EV Club of the South is an organization that works with EV drivers, families, and anyone interested in electric transportation. And we are a chapter of the Electric Auto Association. Our purpose is to be a voice for our members, to promote a successful growth of the electric vehicle market in the United States and the world, and to act as a network for information to and from manufacturers and retailers of electric vehicles. and to encourage the development of charging infrastructure. We share an interest in innovative technology and the implications for the future, and we want to participate in helping shape that future using technology that will make a positive contribution to the world and our economic development. Georgia has been a leader in EV adoption for many years. In fact, back 2011 to 2015, we were the #1 electric vehicle sales for the Nissan Leaf. But there is much more that we can do and benefit the state economically by supporting transportation electrification businesses. Currently, consumers are limited by the vehicles that they can purchase directly. Vehicle options remain one of the biggest hurdles for growing the electric transportation market today. There are several states, as shared earlier by some of the other speakers, that currently allow EV manufacturers to sell directly. And this trend is to open states, not close them off to new investment by EV manufacturers who wish to increase sales of these vehicles. We believe that House Bill 460 will enable more choice for consumers, offering more Georgians more EV options, so we don't have to go to Tennessee or to Florida to purchase these vehicles, and keeping the money here in the state. Sales tax will go back to the state to help create more jobs as well. And what's more, the bill does not prohibit Georgia's dealerships and it protects their business model. So without House Bill 460, new car companies can't build retail locations and invest in the state. So we urge you to support House Bill 460 to provide this new opportunity for new business and economic development in the state. Thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions from any of the committee members? Any questions? I'd like to ask, you made a comment that this would protect dealerships. Could you expand on how you think
it doesn't prevent their business model from continuing as it has. It simply opens the market up for additional sales from more businesses.
Very good. Let me hold on to my questions till later. Thank you so much for being here, Ann.
Thank you.
Mr. Ben Jordan.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, good afternoon. I'm Ben Jordan with the Georgia Automobile Dealers Association. We have a couple folks here who will also testify on our behalf. And we are opposed to House Bill 460. President and CEO Leah Kirshner will address a couple items, including what happened in 2015, specifically with the legislation concerning the current law that allows electric vehicle manufacturers up to 5 retail locations. But then you'll hear from 3 folks who are actually in the automobile industry. You'll hear from William Bridges from Capital Cadillac and GMC, Bo Scott from Regal Nissan here in Roswell, and Mr. Steve Ewing from Wade Ford in Smyrna. My testimony is going to focus on the franchise vehicle system itself. And at the outset, I do want to say that when the sponsor and some of the proponents of the bill have said that they don't intend to harm franchise dealers or their employees, I take them at their word. But nonetheless, the consequences of this bill could in fact be devastating for Georgia's franchise dealers and for their employees. And we believe there is a better way. And the dealer franchise system provides that better way, as it has for generations. The franchise system ensures that jobs and investment and opportunities stay here in Georgia, where they belong. When you buy a new vehicle or you get your vehicle serviced from your local franchise dealer, the proceeds from that transaction are reinvested directly back into your communities in the form of wages for dealership employees, capital investments in the dealership facilities themselves, and charitable giving. If we go to a direct sales model like 460 would provide, those proceeds wouldn't stay here. They would flow to the other places that have been mentioned today, places like California or wherever else these manufacturers are based. The franchise system also fosters competition at every point in an automobile's life cycle. One of the best whoppers that's being told right now about us is that we're opposed to this bill because we fear competition. Dealers thrive on competition. Competition is baked into every aspect of the vehicle franchise system. These dealers and others like them will compete against each other to sell you a vehicle. And studies have shown that local competition, particularly intra-brand competition between two Ford dealers, for instance, will drive down the cost of the vehicle. But then the franchise dealers will also compete against each other for your service business. They want to fix your car. They want to fix your car when it's covered under warranty. They'll even compete against each other to fix your recalls. And they'll compete against each other to value your trade-in. Competition at every aspect of the automobile's life benefits Georgia consumers. It drives down prices. It allows for better customer service, quicker, more effective, more efficient repairs. If we go to a direct sales model like 460 would provide, in which the manufacturer owns every aspect of it, the sales facilities, the repair facilities, the parts, the software enhancements, there will be no local competition. There will be no intra-brand competition. Franchise system also ensures that Georgians are safe on the roads. We fix warranties and recalls, and we repair your vehicles. Just last week, a member of the General Assembly had his truck broken into in Atlanta, knocked out the rear back window. What did he do? Even though he's not from Atlanta, he called the local Ford dealer. The local Ford dealer fixed it in 2 days before that legislator was due to drive back home. Why'd that happen? Why'd that happen so quickly? Well, one, the distribution system in the United States works pretty well. And two, because the Ford dealer knew in order to keep this customer happy and possibly to win his business in the future or get a good review, he had to make that customer happy. Because there will be other Ford dealers here and throughout the state who could do the same thing. If we go to a direct sales model like HB 460 would provide, you eliminate that competition. There will be no competition on the vehicle price at a local level. There will be no intra-brand competition or competition on service. I'll leave you with this, Mr. Chairman, because I know our time is brief. We've been asked a couple times by many of you and others. We understand your argument. We understand that consumers are probably better off in the franchise system than they would be in a direct sales system. But why are you and why are your dealers so opposed to this bill? What does it really come down to? Well, first and foremost, we see that electric vehicles are part of the future. There's no question about that. We hope they get charged on the Ray. We just see this bill as eliminating dealers from having the opportunity to sell at least some of those vehicles for no good reason. And we also see this bill as allowing manufacturers with dealers to compete directly against their own dealers. Remember, one of the electric vehicle manufacturers discussed, behind this bill is Rivian. Ford is a major investor in Rivian. Ford has dealers. Others that have been mentioned, Lordstown. General Motors is a major investor in Lordstown. General Motors has BrightDrop. If this bill is passed, all of those entities sell direct, regardless of their relationship with their own dealers. And we see this bill as potentially allowing manufacturers with dealers to spin off electric vehicle brands and sell those directly to customers in Georgia in competition with their own manufacturers. That's why our dealers are so opposed. And we've also had the question, well, manufacturers wouldn't do that to their own dealers, would they? Well, they have. In 1999, Ford tried to open up their own factory stores in certain parts of the state, and the Georgia General Assembly responded by passing a law. It was the talk of the legislature that session. And Mr. Chairman, you may remember some of that. House Bill 460 would undo that. That's why our folks are so opposed. That's why they're here today, particularly the younger generation dealers who are just taking over now. One said to me recently, Ben, if we thought House Bill 460 would pass, we never would have made the investments in Middle Georgia that we've made. With that, Mr. Chairman, if given the opportunity, I'm happy to introduce some of our dealers here to testify.
Please do.
Thank you. First up is
15 minutes.
First up is Mr. Bo Scott from Regal Nissan.
Good afternoon, Chairman Powell and members of the committee. My name is Bo Scott. I'm the president and dealer principal of Regal Nissan in Roswell, Georgia. I currently serve on the board of directors at the Georgia Automobile Dealers Association and the Metro Atlanta Automobile Dealers Association, as well as the Nissan Regional Dealer Advisory Board. I've also served on the Leaf Advisory Committee for Nissan. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity today to speak in opposition of HB 460. To give you a little background about myself and Regal Nissan, I'm a second generation dealer. My dad founded Regal Nissan in 1980. When I returned home from serving in the Marine Corps in 1990, I joined the family business as a salesperson. After that, I worked a number of different roles at the dealership and became dealer principal in 2014. Let me tell you a little bit about Regal Nissan in historic Roswell, Georgia. We have 106 employees. Our average salary is $74,519. We support many charities of which we were tremendously proud. Many faith-based charities, Toys for Tots, we have supported every year for many years. Many veterans charities. We've partnered in many ways with the charity Hunger Has No Religion, which focuses on the homeless in Atlanta. During the pandemic, we worked with local businesses, restaurants in the Roswell and Alpharetta area, ordering lunches and different meals. We also fed our fire departments in Alpharetta and Roswell by ordering from these same restaurants. We've watched the industry change in the last 41 years, and Regal Nissan has embraced those changes every step of the way. I know personally how a good partnership between a dealer and a manufacturer can work. With Nissan as a partner, my dealership has been successful in making affordable electric vehicles available in Georgia to Georgians, providing quality and timely service and creating loyal customers. Our dealership has not only embraced the transition to electric vehicles, but has been a leader in that space for the last 10 years. Since 2012, Regal Nissan has been serving the EV market by selling and servicing the Nissan Leaf, an affordable electric vehicle. Like many local dealers, we are ready, willing, and able to continue to sell the vehicles consumers want to drive and be there for the customer throughout the life cycle of the vehicles we sell. To claim there is something unique about an electric vehicle that requires them to be sold directly by the manufacturer rather than through franchise dealers is just really ludicrous. If consumers want to buy their electric vehicle online, well, whether it's electric or not, we can provide that service. Dealers adapt to new products and procedures all of the time. When the COVID pandemic hit, dealers jumped in and were able to keep our first responders, law enforcement, healthcare worker, and other essential workers in safe, reliable vehicles. Dealers have an amazing ability to change according to the needs and desires of our customers. I'm proud to share with you Regal Nissan is one of the highest selling retailers of EVs in the Southeast, if not the country, and maybe even the world. Since 2012, through February of this year, Regal Nissan has delivered 3,833 new electric vehicles and hundreds more pre-owned electric vehicles. We also service EVs. Like any other vehicle, EVs need service. Not everything can be fixed wirelessly. We are able to provide convenient and timely service. In 2020 alone, Regal Nissan wrote 630 service repair orders on just electric vehicles. Additionally, Nissan dealers throughout the Southeast region wrote nearly 5,000 repair orders on electric vehicles. EV owners are some of our best service customers. They don't feel comfortable taking their vehicles to independent shops. They trust us with their vehicles. Not only has Regal Nissan been selling and servicing EVs for years, we are preparing for the future of EVs. At Regal Nissan, we are ready for an evolution, if you will. Currently, we have a 226-mile range EV, and we look forward to a new crossover with over a 300-mile range. We have made a number of investments in infrastructure. We have charging stations open to the public that are free of charge and are making preparations to install our 3rd generation of fast charger that can fully charge a vehicle in minutes instead of hours. We have invested in special training of our technicians and no small investment in special tools and safety equipment for working on our electric vehicles. Rivian and Lucid are here today asking this committee to take a big step toward dismantling the franchise system and eventually eliminating local independent dealers. HB 460 will benefit manufacturers that cater to a small segment of society that can afford their vehicles while hurting local dealers, consumers, and local communities. The base Rivian model truck will be priced between $62,000 and $69,000. The vehicle model that Lucid says will be available by the end of this year will be $161,500. And that's after the federal tax credit. Lucid's base model, which won't be produced until the end of next year, will be $70,000 after the federal tax credit. Other Lucid models will range from $87,500 to $131,500. These are not vehicles that will be available to the average Georgian. The MSRP of a Nissan Leaf is about $32,000. The new Nissan Ariya will be introduced later this year, will be in the $40,000 range. But HB 460 just isn't about Rivian and Lucid. HB 460 opens the door for all manufacturers of EVs to bypass independent dealers. HB 460 threatens the important benefits of independent franchise dealerships that are provided. Access to affordable EVs, competition in pricing, including trade-in values, important to many customers who do not want to engage in selling their own vehicle themselves. Convenient repair and maintenance for customers of both regular maintenance as well as warranty and, heaven forbid, safety or quality recalls. Good paying jobs and opportunities for careers, charitable involvement to address unmet needs in our local communities, and significant state and local tax revenues. I ask this committee to consider far-reaching negative consequences that HB 460 could have and reject this legislation.
Thank you so much. Any questions from any of the committee members? Mr. Montevideo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question about, I think we've heard several times about market access, and I think that's kind of been the theme here. So let me ask you a question. I would presume that a dealer wants to sell cars.
Absolutely.
And would you say that one dealer could sell multiple types of cars at different dealerships or the same?
Yes, they can sell multiple types of vehicles at the dealership, certainly.
Absolutely. So different brands and different types and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
My question would be, if the dealers had it available to them, would a dealer want to sell a Rivian car?
Absolutely. I would, if they made that available, I would probably be first in line filling out my paperwork to become a franchisor.
And that's not available to you?
No, sir.
So is it a problem with market access?
No, sir. That's just a way that Rivian's chosen to, I guess, come at the market.
I see. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith? No? Any other questions? Bo, thank you so much for taking time to be here.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Next up.
We've got two more dealers if we have time for it, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Sure. Brevity is of a
brevity is of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee. I'll try to make my comments brief here. There is a lot I would like to say, but my name is William Bridges. I'm the president of Capital Cadillac and Capital Buick GMC up in Marietta. And I'm here today to speak against HB 460. I'm a third generation dealer, so for 90 years, my family's been serving customers in Atlanta by building and developing a team of talented individuals and providing facilities and locations to sell and service vehicles here in Georgia. In addition to Cadillac and Buick and GMC that we have now, we've also represented Oldsmobile, Peugeot, Saturn, Hummer, and Pontiac in the past. Capital Cadillac employs about 100 people currently. Buick GMC store employs another 50 folks. And we have a lot of long-term employees. We have approximately 30 of our employees have been with us over 10 years. Just last year, we had 3 retirees. Between them had over 120 years of experience with our stores. Dealers are very resilient business people. We support our brands, we support our customers and our state and our local economies, both good times and bad. As a Cadillac dealer, we continue to sell cars and support our brand and customers, not only in good times, but when interest rates were in the 20% range in the early 80s, and also when GM filed for bankruptcy in 2009. We stuck with our customers and with our manufacturers throughout all these difficult times in a business which is always going to be cyclical. I mentioned earlier that we've represented 5 brands that are no longer in the U.S., but we continue to support these owners even after these brands withdrew from the market, which I think is a very important point to make. GM has announced that they're planning to migrate away from the internal combustion engine to primarily electric cars by 2035. Cadillac is a little ahead of that. Their target is 2030. And we are ready to partner with GM and Cadillac to move toward this all-electric future. We are all in when it comes to EVs. We've sold hybrids, we sold EVs previously, and we're looking forward to this next generation of EVs, which will address many of the limitations that the earlier generations prevented the greater adoption of that technology. I'll tell you a few things about what's going on right now. We've already begun making additional investments in training and equipment and facilities. GMC Hummer EV truck is coming to market late this year, early 22, and the Cadillac Lyriq should be here a few months after that, mid 22, which is a 5-passenger crossover. Cadillac's preparing its entire portfolio to be EV by 2030, providing, of course, consumer adoption and demand continues to grow and shift at the current rates. Cadillac also has virtual showroom capabilities where they can answer questions for those customers that choose that direction. They are in support of our efforts as well. Our team members have high adaptability to new technology. This has always been the case. Our current products have new technology updates every year. We've also been currently selling and servicing autonomous driving technology. In fact, the Cadillac Super Cruise was the first true hands-free driving assistance technology out there, and independent third parties like Motor Trend and Consumer Reports have ranked Cadillac Super Cruise as a leader in this technology, even over the much touted Tesla Autopilot. This technology has been in our products since the fall of 2017, and its capabilities continue to grow and develop annually. And it will be available over most of our models in the near future. Our products have included available options in multiple cameras, radars, automatic safety features like pedestrian alert, automatic parking, lane keep, lane departure technology, HD surround vision, adaptive cruise control, and all the many things technology-wise that there's nothing in the technology front that these new entries in the market can bring that we haven't seen or prepared to deal with. Our vehicles have been capable of over-the-air software for a number of years. However, it's been our experience that, like most computers, sometimes these modules freeze and need specialized equipment to push and update and reset the system. Additionally, these computers rely on a multitude of sensors for critical information, and these sensors also have occasional failures, and over-the-air update will not repair a failed sensor. Training has always been a critical success in our business, and with EVs, this remains true as well. In addition to all this technological training on the product, we also training our team on charging hardware, third-party charging networks, nuances in electric powertrain and vehicle operation. Our technicians are going through similar training. I won't go into all that as well, but one of the things I want to point out is that, you know, with the advent of these longer range EVs, the cars are going to break the history of getting lighter every year. They'll start getting heavier because the battery needed to push the range out to what the customer is demanding right now. So we've got to have new lifts, got to have new forklifts. We got to have hardware like that to work on the cars, as well as the special tools. We've also, this year, we'll be spending about $300,000 to $400,000 adding additional DC fast chargers to our existing network of level 2 chargers available for our customers and for our servicing these vehicles. By allowing EV manufacturers to bypass independent dealers, HB 460 would subject these EV owners to potentially lengthy and frustrating repairs, jeopardizing potential local investments by the dealers, additional jobs that we would provide in our communities, and the civic involvement that our staff brings into our communities. There'll be some losers among all these various EV startups. Not all of them will be winners. So there are going to be some customers that will need someone to stand by them. As the manufacturers prepare to release more EVs, they may decide to bypass independent dealers, destroying the system that has served them and our consumers well for a very long time. And I urge you to oppose HB 460. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, William. Any questions? I don't see any. Thank you, William.
Thank you very much.
I can be very brief, Mr. Chairman. I can be
certainly
impressive.
We would really
Let's do that.
appreciate it.
My name is Steve Ewing, and I am the owner of a company in Smyrna, Georgia, named Wade Ford. Wade Ford's been in Georgia for over 80 years. I started out very quickly, and I'll make it simple. I'm not a second generation car dealer. I became a car dealer in 1989. My parents sold everything they had to believe in their son's dream to give me an opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. I'm still blessed to have both my parents, and I don't have a day that I don't realize the blessings that I've had that they've given me to be able to have an opportunity to be a dealer. Wade Ford is the 4th dealership I've owned. I started out in an inner city location. They thought if they put a black man in an inner city, you'd make it automatically. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that the economics affect people getting loans, and I didn't survive there. So I was able to move on. Ford saw and believed in me, and I was able to move on to a second franchise, which was another Ford dealership, then a Nissan franchise, and then a Lincoln Mercury franchise. And then I was blessed one day where God had it, that a dealer here in Georgia called and said, hey, you know what? I heard your name. I'm selling my franchise to a publicly traded company, and they're not going to let me sell them to everybody, but they do want to make an opportunity for you. So I came down again, sold everything I had, went back in debt, and my wife and I moved our family from Pennsylvania down to Atlanta. This journey here to Wade Ford has been the best part of my automotive journey. Moving my kids, raising my family here in Georgia has been amazing. But the influence on the 135 employees, and we've been as high as 170, 80 employees. 135 employees that come there every day to go to work and to do all the different jobs that we do to maintain our franchise is critically important. It's been a great journey, and the people that I work with, they're all members of this community. And when you talk about my opposition of HB 460, you need to understand, I keep asking myself, well, why? Why is Ford, why Chevrolet, why all the other Kia, why did they choose, why can they make it with the franchise system in Georgia? Why are they successful in Georgia with a franchise system, but these other companies figure they're too bright and they're going to come up with a way to eliminate jobs. They told you they're going to bring jobs. They're not. Okay. When you look at the trickle down in the state of Georgia, from the amount of money I spend every month, like the rest of these dealers do, to vendors, it's in the millions of dollars that we spend annually to vendors, from tow truck companies to glass people who put in glass, to the people who supply, deliver tires, all the other things that happen. People talked about, I heard someone mention, Ali mentioned charging stations. We're not opposed to charging stations. We're all going to have a robust electric vehicle line, all manufacturers. It's been announced. I follow automotive news. I'm a student of the auto business. Everybody's going to have one. So we're all going to be in this game for electric, and we all want to be able to have the opportunity to sell electric cars because that's what the market is demanding. I drove here in an incredible electric Mustang called a Mach-E. I have it parked outside. It is an incredible car with a lot of technology and probably 30% less than that Tesla that you're letting them sell now. $56,000 retail price for a brand new electric car with all the technologies in the world. Excuse me, but I'm trying to be very quick and brief because the chairman has a nice smile and he doesn't want me to go too far. I'm telling you right now that Annie talked about the Electric Drive Club. We'll support that too. We're all about the Electric Drive Club. So we're not against what they're doing with the club. The club will thrive. As a matter of fact, the club's going to get bigger because the pot it's going to be a bigger amount of more dealers involved with selling electric cars. Okay. Ford has been a great partner to me. And Ford and other manufacturers opposed this bill. People talked about, oh, Ford invested in one of these companies. Yeah, they did for the technology, not to eliminate their dealers. I called Ford's governmental affairs people this morning, and I said, listen, I just want to really, so I have it, I've read it, give me another clear understanding as to what the thoughts were to invest in this company. And they were very clear that, Steve, there's technology that these companies have that is really good, and we're going to use it to make better cars and trucks for our consumers through the dealer network. That's what we do. Today, Volvo announced that it will become an electric-only brand by 2030. That's pretty cool. And they'll be selling vehicles online only. Okay, very, very interesting, the electric vehicles. They also said they're going to keep their dealers and include them in the online platform. But if HB 460 passes, Volvo could easily change course and eliminate dealers. Okay, those are the things you need to understand as it pertains to us. We are all about innovation. Innovation is good. No one in Georgia's not going to be left behind. But the one thing you need to protect is the jobs. And these people will fill an Apple-type store with a few people in khaki pants, okay, and try to compete with dealers that have to do all the things we need to do. I've invested hundreds of thousands. I'm investing about $500,000 to renovate a building now into a truck center. Why? I'm using Georgia contractors. I'm using Georgia electricians, everything to build that facility. And we're going to employ people in that building to fix vehicles as they come and as people need them. We're going to service trucks, and that's where it is. The technology is coming, and I want all of you to know that I oppose this bill. I oppose 460. I take offense when people tell you it's good for Georgia. It's not. And rational people and logical people would come to the same conclusion that I have. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions from any of the committee members? I think you got our attention. I'm sorry. Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not for the Ford dealer. This is for the Nissan dealer. I tried to get it in before you sat down. You said something about the charging stations that you were installing. Is that unique to your dealership in Alpharetta? Is that all over the state that Nissan dealers are doing this?
Well, I can't speak for every Nissan dealer. We are certainly a larger electric vehicle dealer than most. There's some others probably that have a similar story, but I do know that we've had so much usage of our DC fast charger, a fast charger that we are now in our third generation or about to install our third generation of fast charger. You know, if we went back to the first one, everybody turned their nose up at it. But so, yeah, while it may not be just unique to our dealership or to we're probably kind of out there a little front of other dealers that may not have the success with electric vehicles, although there are several here in the metro Atlanta area that do have that kind of success.
Well, thank you. I'm big on customer service, and that's carrying it to the next level.
All right.
Especially doing it for free.
Very good.
You can buy one for $300. I just want to know. You can buy it and charge it for $300. So I want to know where. So the gentleman spoke about that. Let us go back. Put it up at Amazon for $39. Go ahead and then install it. Go ahead.
All right. Thank y'all very much. I'd like to see what that mock looks like, but you know what? I think that Chairman Martin put the curse when he said an hour and a half. All right. Do we have anyone else other than the last two who didn't sign up? Do you think you two gentlemen can speak in less than 60 seconds? Mr. Sewell?
Of course, you know I can. I'm Rusty Sewell, and I represent the Alliance of Innovative Motor Vehicles. Excuse me. I represent the manufacturers, as most of y'all know and we've dealt with. I will be very quick because most of the questions were answered that y'all would have. One, as the Nissan dealer said, they'll sell these cars. Why should they be different? You know, the cars that Ford makes, GM, whatever, the EVs that they do, all the low emission, they're excellent cars. They're very good cars. And I think they're economically cheaper than these other companies. But why should these other companies be different? Our people, as the gentleman, the Ford dealer said, Ford, GM, some of these other companies have invested in some of this for the technology. We have no intent on, going away from the franchise system that we have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I thank you. My good friend, Representative Prince, is that your button?
I was seeing that. I heard Rivian mention that.
I know. We're gonna let Mr. Pratt say the last, the next to the last word.
And if it would please the chairman of the committee, I'll let Caitlin Byhand with Rivian respond.
You think she can do this in less than 60 seconds?
Maybe like 45, Chairman?
Mr. Chairman,
Wonderful.
honorable members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today in support of House Bill 460, a bill to allow manufacturers of electric vehicles only without existing dealer franchise networks. So not Ford, not GM. I think you heard from the representative from the Alliance that those companies have no intention of selling directly, and in fact, they would not be permitted to do that under this bill. This would only provide those manufacturers that do not have that network the option to make those vehicles available directly. My name is Keelan Monahan. I'm a manager of public policy for Rivian Automotive, an independent US manufacturer of electric vehicles. We make electric pickups and SUVs, and we have created 3,700 American jobs and counting, and we would like to employ Georgians as well. I'm excited to speak to you about direct sales because this is a policy, is a simple fix to Georgia law that will be a clear victory for Georgia's economy at no cost to the taxpayer and without threatening existing business models. That's why the Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Justice, as well as consumer groups, environmental, free market groups, and think tanks across the political spectrum support direct sales for a variety of reasons. This bill is effectively EV companies knocking at Georgia's door, ready to do business. Not just Rivian, but more exciting new companies without a dealer network. And Tesla would also like to invest more in the state. This is about jobs in Georgia. This legislation would allow Georgia to apply for a license and be regulated as a dealer. to invest in the community, to hire Georgians, and to pay taxes. Without this bill, we would be forced to sell online. Rivian is eligible for a dealer license in 19 states, including in Florida and in Tennessee. Not passing this bill would not force us to sell, would not keep us out. It would keep us out of the state, shifting those jobs and economic development to other states and actually forcing us to sell online. It would also create additional hurdles for Georgians. Consumers would have to arrange for title transfer outside the state, process registration and titles themselves, and potentially have to travel out of the state to Florida or Tennessee to pick up their Rivian vehicle. This additional hurdle would do a disservice to consumers and create unnecessary hurdles and a huge barrier to entry for new companies like Rivian, stifling the free flow of commerce in Georgia. Rather than supporting existing dealer franchise, this law simply shifts those jobs out of state. I listened to the concerns of Mr. Bridges, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Ewing. Georgia's dealers should not be concerned about our presence in the state because this bill does not interfere with those franchise agreements. It only applies to companies like Rivian who have never entered such agreements. Franchise dealerships have thrived over the past decade as Tesla came into the market. Georgia's dealer sales rose 50% from 20 billion in 2012 to just over 30 billion in the last year as Tesla opened these locations during that time. Direct sales and Georgia's dealerships can clearly coexist, and we feel that this expands competition. This does not limit competition in the state. I wish to emphasize that Ford is one of many minority investors in Rivian, and we are an independent company. Because of the protections I mentioned, neither this bill nor existing law would allow Ford to engage in the direct sales of vehicles. We heard from Mr. Ewing that Ford said this themselves, as did the representative from the Alliance for the Motor Vehicle Manufacturers Alliance. Regarding service, our company is launching a network of service locations and providers across the country. We know our ability to meet our customers' needs is critical to our success, and we will provide service to our customers like our company depends on it because it does. Our brand is on the line, and we will provide that service to our customers. EV manufacturers that utilize a direct sales to consumer model will offer the same level of consumer protection under the law because we will in fact be regulated as a dealer. So we will meet all the same consumer protections laws as any dealer. We'd have to go through the same application process to get the sales license and be subject to the same rules and regulations. The only difference is the ownership and the cost to consumers. We urge Georgia to embrace this opportunity and to enable the next generation of American automakers. And this can be done by respecting existing franchise agreements. Thank you for the consideration of this issue and the opportunity to provide this testimony. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions? I see none. Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Ms. Monahan. You talked about service locations across the country. How far will they be spaced apart? You're talking about a network of service locations across the country.
So Rivian is building out a large network of service locations. We did hear the concerns from some lawmakers, from the dealers, and that's why the amendment that Chairman Martin has introduced creates a requirement for an in-state service center for any manufacturer seeking this license. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Martin, I think you're up.
I don't have my stopwatch, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I know that was about the shortest 60 seconds I've ever heard, but.
Matter for each and every member to decide for themselves, sir. Thank you, and I want to thank Mr. Scott. I don't know how there you are back there. I don't know how old you might have been in '83, but I bought my first car that I bought on my own from your dad, and Mr. Freeman, I believe, worked there in 1983, Nissan King Cab pickup truck. That's what you do when you get out of Georgia. You have a pickup truck, but you got to drive a long way to work. I appreciate the investment all of our dealers have made. I appreciate what these gentlemen said today. And I appreciate what the gentleman from Wade Ford probably said the most, because he wants to compete, and that's what we want to have. We want to offer competition in a new innovative technology without taking away the capital costs these folks have invested in taking anything. To be clear, on the bill, line 63 and 64, Volvo can't sell here, Ford can't. This bill doesn't let that happen. I just want to be clear about that. It does seek to let the makers of zero emission vehicles compete that have never sold a line in this state before. And it just like Tesla can do that, it would allow them to do that and let the best person win. To your point, Chairman, when you go in to buy one of these vehicles, it'll be eyes wide open. I mean, if you don't like where they have the service, if you don't like what the cost is, if it costs too much money, then I'd love to see the gentleman's Mustang. I've seen the advertisement on it. I mean, I'm sure it's a fine ride, and we'd like to do it. So all we're asking for is competition. I'm over a minute, and so I'm going to be finished. But I thank each and every one of y'all for staying. I know it's been a long couple of weeks down here, long day yesterday. And we just want to offer Georgians the opportunity to decide. We don't tell them where to buy their, Representative Monahan's gone, where to buy their grass seed. We don't necessarily have to tell them where they can do this. If they go in business and you outsell them on the E-Mustang, then you'll win, and then the consumer will also get what they want. So we just ask you to consider, as you move forward, allowing Georgians the opportunity to have this innovative technology direct to the way that they would choose, and they'll go in and make their decision eyes wide open. I trust the Georgia consumer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Do we have any questions in closing from any of the committee members? Well, if not, we do appreciate you presenting this bill. And I'm sure that we'll be hearing more about this. And I thank the crowd for being here today. And this meeting's now adjourned.